for the game that, hey, if we thought us, we going for it. This was the type of game it was. We know it was a must-have, and we just went out there and executed.
Oh, yeah. Give me that Tim Patrick sound on the field. Shout out Tim Patrick, resurrecting his career in Detroit. Detroit, the home of the Lions, the 12-1 Lions, who have now won a team record 11 consecutive games after a 34-31 triumph over the Green Bay Packers in an NFC North shootout that lived up to the hype and then some. Dan Hanzus here with Marc Sessler. We are heeding that call once again, and we are live once again on the stream. And as I see to the right, the stream is going off, Sessdog, and people are pumped up because, yes, like I said, this is a game that it felt like it would be almost impossible for it not to be a great game. And then at halftime, you're thinking, it's an okay game. But then it lived up to the hype in the second half and went down to the very last second. It
really did. It kept Al Michaels engaged, which I think is one of the big tasks of these Thursday night affairs is keep Al Michaels engaged.
Right.
But yes, on a slate, we did our draft with the games this week, and it's a weird slate this week. This was the game we needed to deliver. It absolutely did. I think they're going to meet again at some point. What a night! We also had a chance to interact, type with, talk to so many of our listeners on our Patreon. So it really had a kind of a celebratory Thursday night feel. It feels good when you get a good Thursday night game.
Yeah, and like we've said, this Thursday night schedule has been great. I mean, I remember when Al and Kirk first teamed up, that first season in particular, it was a couple of years ago now, was just grisly, and the NFL addressed it. And so you get a game here that will be remembered, of course, for, again, like Dan Campbell. Yes, does Dan Campbell have brass balls? Yeah, he does.
Correct.
I mean, but there's something smart about what he's done here, and because being a head coach and the responsibility and how much sits on your shoulders, can crush men. But Dan Campbell kind of cracked the code, because if you always go for it, and I mean that in like almost every way, but if you really want to get granular on 4th and 1, if you always go for it, then there's never even really a decision. It's like that old thing, that old saying, KISS, K-I-S-S, keep it simple, stupid. Dan Campbell is always going to bet on his guys to get the job done. In this case, it's kind of extreme, and it doesn't always work because, like, for instance, it didn't always work in this game, and it played a role in the game starting to look like it was getting away from the Lions, because in the late in the third quarter, 4th and 1 at their own 31-yard line, they give it to Gibbs instead of sending out the punter like most teams would do, and he gets shut down for a loss of a yard. 4 plays later, the Packers are in the end zone for a touchdown. But we saw the same thing, Mark, in the NFC title game, and he got killed. Campbell did. It's easy to forget now, but this aggressiveness was something that was kind of used against him when it didn't work a lot in a big spot in the playoffs. But in this spot, even more, I thought, kind of I'd say brave, but it doesn't seem like he even thinks about it. He's just like, yes, 4th and 1 at the Green Bay 21, 43 seconds to play, and Green Bay has one timeout, and you can obviously just kick the field goal there, and the percentages are probably with you that you're going to win the game, because there's not a lot of time for Jordan Love and company to make the play. And yet, well, we have the odds on this, right? Don't we? Did we have a tweet on this, Justin? Yeah, the 4th down decision bot said the field goal attempt is an 83% win percentage. Go for it is 80% win percentage. So I guess it says to go. It says to kick the field goal, but I guess it's closer than I realized. But at the end of the day, he ends up saying, "I trust my offensive line. I trust David Montgomery, and the rest is history." They burn out all the clock and make the field goal with Bates.
Yeah, like the broadcast called it acorns. It's not acorns. It's massive onions that come from below the earth from a farm field. I mean, and I think part of what is happening with Dan Campbell, and it's been going on for years, is like, you're right, we're going to do this every time. And I think that just leaves the entire roster prepared. It leaves them expectations. You're not suddenly throwing someone into a situation that would surprise players in the huddle. It's like, we do this every time, and sometimes it won't work, but it's going to work. And like, we're also in an NFL situation these days where, like, if you give Jordan Love 40 seconds or 35 seconds, what happens with these games? You know they're going to march down the field somehow and get a chance to, kick a field goal themselves. So I love a team like the Lions that just says, we're going to squeeze the life out of you. We're going to put it in our hands. And yes, it's not going to be 100%, but it's about 80%. And this is their identity. Like, they just carved out this audacious identity. And what I think is interesting for us as fans is that this didn't even exist in the NFL 2 decades ago. No one was doing this, and they're just that much farther ahead. Like, each week we're having a conversation about Antonio Pierce or Matt Eberflus or fill-in-the-blank coach that can't handle and comprehend how to deal with the end of games. And Dan Campbell's like, not only will I handle it, we're going to do it our way. And when it works, it just emphasizes and emboldens your idea about where this team will be. Because I think this is the one thing about the Lions, we can get into it, but it's like they are really, really working with a thinned out defensive roster. And I thought that might have been the end of them tonight. And it didn't happen that way. They've got issues, but this identity and this aggressiveness creates opportunities, and it creates end of game situations. And then the kicker nails it, and bang, you're the Packers. You have no chance to come back on it. I love it. I love the way it ended.
And I think, again, I don't know if Campbell even ponders these things, like weighing this against that, rather than just says, we're going for it. But yeah, there was absolutely reason to, even if Green Bay would not have been in an advantageous situation without timeouts and maybe 30 seconds left to play, to get down the field and kick a field goal to send the game to overtime. Like, still, like, that defense is an issue. Like, and I'm really sure Campbell, and that's the back of his mind, is like, I can't trust my defense. And he'd never say that because he loves all his guys. And hopefully we can get some Campbell sound before we sign off in this on the show. But it started well for the Detroit defense in the first half. They held Jordan Love, I believe, under 100 yards passing. They had just 7 points at halftime, Green Bay. But after the second quarter, Mark, they come out, and Green Bay goes 5 plays, 70 yards, touchdown. Then they get the ball back after a Jared Goff pick and go 3 plays, 16 yards, touchdown. Then after a Lions touchdown drive, there was a 3-and-out, so they get 1 3-and-out. And then you have the play that we talked about, the 4th and 1 that Gibbs got stopped down. Green Bay gets the ball, 4 plays, 30 yards, touchdown. The Lions answer with another touchdown drive of their own. The Lions offense is just so damn good, which is the other thing that is kind of like can keep you afloat, even when you do make a strategic error or it doesn't work out. They kind of always dig you out. But after that, they give up 9 plays, 56 yards, and a field goal to tie the game. And I guess if you're Matt LaFleur, Mark, you're frustrated because in that building, knowing who you're facing and the way things are going, that a field goal is not good enough there. They needed to finish off that drive, and once they did it, it was almost like anticlimactic once the Lions got the ball back in a tie game, which I guess would be my only criticism of this game, that it almost went too much to script. If you know what I mean, like, yeah. It's like you kind of just knew what was going to happen, and thankfully, I guess for us and the other people that talk about this stuff for a living, the decision to go for it on 4th and inches gives it that little extra flair. But there was something to it that just almost seemed like it was already written by the script makers. We have a Dan Campbell locker room speech. Is that ready to go, Justin, or are you still working on that? All right, let's hear it.
I'm so freaking proud of you, man. That's the way to show up. You talk about pressure, we live in pressure. That's where we freaking thrive. You did it again. All right? It doesn't matter who's playing for us. It doesn't matter what's going on. You always find a way to win. This has been in the making, man. This has been in the making. All right? We were all supposed to be here together, man. We're destined for this. Just stay the course.
How could you not run through a wall for that, man? And he doesn't just talk the talk; he walks the walk, and that's what all those 4th down gambles. They were 4 for 5 in this game are about. The Campbell's not just the guy who's going to go in a locker room and say, "I believe in you guys." He's going to put his money where his mouth is, and the Lions respond to it very well.
Yeah, it reminds me of so many of the bosses that we've had in the past in our career. But like, I'd say this: I think part of the subtext of that conversation, why you're proud, is like, like you signed Quan Alexander off the street, and you've got half your defense operating as players who've been in the building for like a fortnight tops, like a week. And you could see that miscommunication and some of that breaking down in the second half, but they found a way. And like, I just think that there aren't that many teams right now that are a complete extension of their head coach. And this team is, and it happened. They win games in a way that just makes me feel like they are going to find a pathway out of whatever troubles they have. I mean, things could catch up to them, but I really feel tonight this was, because you're playing the Bills next week, this was not one you can drop and then suddenly have to go deal with the Bills. Like, to come out of here with this against the Packers, and you know what? Like, Matt LaFleur wanted this game too. He's getting into it with a Lions fan before the kickoff. I don't know, some sort of celebratory. Here we go. We have some video on YouTube
Matt,
here.
I mean, what are we doing,
like
Matt?
and I don't quite know what the context of this was, but he's getting into it with a Lions fan, and so the Packers, man, they fought too, and I believe in them a lot, but they absolutely.
Whoa! Did you see the side judge there? Like shove. So it's some idiot Lion fan who was granted access to the field to hold the American flag, and
Well, I don't know if he was an idiot, but he seemed amped up. But yeah. Idiotic behavior.
Of course he's an idiot. I mean,
Okay.
your job, you're on the field. You're lucky enough to be on the field. Your job's to hold the flag, not talk shit to the head coach of the other team. Like, come on, bro. Like, but at the same time, LaFleur taking the cheese is a little surprising. But
it is.
You know what? I think part of that is, and I'll excuse LaFleur. You could take your idiot to the watering hole market, and you guys could celebrate him getting on TV. But like,
I don't want to hang out with the guy. I'm just saying I don't know what his mental state is.
and of course, if he is part of the audience of Heed the Call, then I do pardon him of his sins.
Yes.
But
Thank you, Joe Biden.
the little bearded boy, as my dad once famously put, you could tell. First of all, Stillwater's run deep. He's a pretty pumped up, amped up guy. And he really wanted this game, and he knew what was at stake, because like we talked about in the preview, the Packers win this game, the NFC North, the number 1 seed, everything is just wide open. And now, yes, the Vikings are still right there, but I think even as somebody who's like, Queen Bee, the Darnold Hive, I think the Vikings have a loss or two in the tank still to come, whereas the Lions, this is another one of those big tests that they ended up acing, even with their defense not being where it needs to be. That would be, the only takeaway from this game. Same thing Thanksgiving we could talk about how they've done a great job, and they've shown a lot of resolve in the depth of their roster, and Aaron Glenn's doing a great job, and I believe all that. But look what the Packers did in the second half of this game, and the Lions cannot let up on offense, because that's how they'll get beat.
I mean, I still totally believe in the Packers. I think this is a team that is built to create chaos, to bludgeon. Like, they came very close. This is 2 weeks in a row where the Lions come down to the very final seconds. Last week it was, no chance for the Bears to make the kick. This week it was them making the kick. So they're winning close games. It's not the same way that the Chiefs are doing it, for instance, but this to me is I do feel like they're going to meet again, and I think the Packers are growing. They're evolving into what they are, and like this, you can walk away from this and say this is a really rough loss, but I leave hopeful for them as well. And I think it matters when you make measured player additions and they work. Like Josh Jacobs, 3 touchdowns tonight. It's working so well, and I think that they're built to last. And so it's a tough loss, but I see a defense too in Green Bay that not so much tonight, but like they can win on both sides of the ball, and they've not been this complete in a long time. There's always been deficiencies and issues, and so my concern level for Green Bay is low. I think they.
Well, I mean, I hear you, but we've already graduated with the Green Bay Packers from, man, if they could hang with the Lions, that's a good job. No, like they went there expecting to win. I think we all picked the Lions, but like I picked them to win by 4 or 5.
Yeah.
You did the same, I think. Like that's disappointing, and you had your chance there if a couple things go differently. And think about it, that Josh Jacobs, he almost had 4 touchdowns in this game. Gets called back on an offensive pass interference, and that ends up being the difference in this game on some level, because that starts them at 1st and 20. The drive stalls, they kick the field goal, and like we said, once the Lions had the ball back in a tie game with 2 minutes or so to play, it just felt preordained. Let's take a break right here. Stay right there, live audience. We'll be back to finish up our recap in this game and check in on the audience and all sorts of fun stuff. Well, I can't promise all sorts of fun stuff.
Well,
but a little bit more to
elements of fun.
come.
Some
Stay right
elements,
there.
Yeah. Football season is winding down, but there's still plenty of time to get into the action on Underdog. With higher, lower pick'em entries, daily drafts, streaks, and more, there's never been a better time to start playing. And it's not just the NFL. The NBA is back. You've got NHL, college sports, so many options. So don't miss out. Just scan the QR code on your screen to download and play on the Underdog app. Or if you're not watching on YouTube, sign up with the code HTC and you can receive up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. Make the most of this NFL season before it's gone by playing along on Underdog. For our U.S. audience, only.
We feel good. We certainly do. And now with the mini bye, it's like a nice little refresher to kind of get us going for this last stretch of the season. But yeah, we're doing some cool things right now, and we know that. But in our division, it's not over till the very end. It's
what do you go home and do it and celebrate
tonight?
Yeah.
I'm
what do
going
you
to sleep?
You're going.
It's good to rest. But yeah, I mean, that Minnesota game in Week 18 looms. Like we know that game's going to matter, and we got to win all these ones, hopefully leading up to it.
Yeah, that's Jared Goff.
Can I say one thing? If you're watching this, like if you're part of the live feed, well, if you're watching this, you are part of that ad read. I look like the child of like Lee Harvey Oswald. What was going on there? Like I need to be recording this when in the daytime when I'm a little more alert. And
I feel like you wouldn't mind being if you did like a 23andMe and it's like Mr. Sessler. It appears based on what we see here that you are indeed the son of Lee Harvey Oswald. I feel like you wouldn't be like overly crushed. I feel like you'd be like, oh, kind of cool.
What? You think I want to be the child of Lee Harvey Oswald? That isn't one of...
Yeah.
You've had some insane theories.
Mark's father was born way before Lee Harvey Oswald, let's be real. He's a vampire.
Mark's father was born in the 1600s, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to be the child of a vampire either.
Don't you ever
these
wonder...
These are my two options?
Like, I've watched a lot of unsolved mysteries in my life. Don't you ever wonder why you're so... drawn to the JFK assassination? And is it at least possible that A, Lee Harvey was your dad, or B, you were Lee Harvey Oswald in a prior life? Just things to think about.
So that's a psychotic concept. The second one, it's probably more of my affinity to JFK the speaker than it is like you're trying to tilt it.
Sure.
That I'm like
that's what I would say too.
That I'm fanning out for Lee Harvey Oswald. Like Lee Harvey Oswald was a CIA asset, so I'm not. That goes deeper. We don't need to.
Yeah, he's an asset. I know you've always thought he was an asset.
Well, different.
Where were we?
Can I say one quick game note? Like,
yes.
A ref gets hurt again tonight. Is it me or a ref's getting hurt like left and right? They're constantly fainting. They're being taken away on carts, like more than other seasons. Like another one goes down this evening. Or is it just the same? And I'm
I feel it. I feel you on that. I feel like it's happening, but it's almost a surprise it doesn't happen more because
you'd think so,
the amount of movement they have to, they have to run. They got stops and starts. They got all these car crashes happening all around them. They're middle aged, typically.
Right.
So yeah, uptick though, Mark. Uptick.
That's all I was trying to,
Awesome.
Trying to dig into that topic.
It was good. It was good though, and he did come back after suffering a shoulder injury, which is funny. Let's hear Dan Campbell explaining his final fourth down call.
I just felt like we needed to end it on offense, and I did not want to give that ball back, and I believed we could get that. I believed we could convert, and I trusted that O-line. I trusted David, and they came through for us. It's a hell of a call by Ben. It just, I knew how I wanted to play this game. The team knew it, and everything in me told me to let's finish this, and so we did.
How about Jared?
Yeah, there it is. And, we didn't even talk about the fact that, yes, he goes for it. Jared Goff takes the snap from under center,
right?
Trips on the foot of either his guard or his center, drops down to one knee, and the college game plays over. That would have been, the ball of the Packers, but not in the pros. He hadn't been touched. He got the ball to, was it Montgomery who gave it to? Or was it Gibbs? Whoever got it.
It was Gibbs.
and they got the first down. So it was that close, and that's what. Yes,
It was Montgomery.
It was Montgomery. Yep.
and it was that close to a disaster. Can you imagine the tone of this conversation if he trips down and fumbles the ball or gets touchdown, and then the Packers go down the field to win the game? It would be reminiscent of what happened in the NFC title game and how much criticism Campbell got. So he does coach with a lot of edge, and he does not run from risk, and it makes him fun and makes the Lions more fun. But it does come with a high level. Yeah, it's a gamble, and usually it pays off because he trusts his guys. Let me check out this Lions schedule, by the way, because Goff is right. Nothing is decided. I mean, if he was in almost any other division in the league, they'd be cruising to a first-round bye. But they're a rare 12-1 team that has a very much a real chance of having to play for everything in Week 18. So they get, obviously, the Bills at home next week. Oh, Romo Nance. Oh, you son of a bitch.
What?
Mark, you have the first pick in the draft next week.
Well, okay.
Look at you.
Well, that is nice, and I've already, the draft room is closed. We already know what we're doing. But like, that also means that I get the game that everyone's already watching. So it's like, you know what I mean? Where it's like I can't carve out like a reporter's niche on that because everyone's already got eyeballs on it.
We used to think this was weird that you had this take on the old show too. It's like,
what?
Isn't the goal is to have the best, most rounded conversation on the game and not like one guy alone and nobody else knows what's going on. But like that's a very Sessler
Well,
on
I'm very
brand
territorial.
thing.
I'm territorial.
You're very.
I still get to write the write up though, so I can make it.
You have that. Yes,
I can make it anything that I want, and that.
But you're very Mark Wahlberg in fear about like the games, and I'm sorry. What you can do is trade that to me.
For what?
I don't know.
The whole trading, like what does that mean? I want like. Let's
I
be
don't
real
know.
about that.
So the Bills and the Lions, which I think a lot of people hope is going to be Super Bowl 59, they'll play next Sunday, and it is notable that the Lions do have a mini bye, as Goff said, going into that game. Then they go to Chicago, then at San Francisco. Who knows what the Niners are at this point, but they're not what they were. And then, yes, they finish with the Vikings. So, I think if they could find a way to win 2 of 3 of these games, which I think they will, and they could win all 3, I think that Week 18 game probably won't matter. But it's not an easy finish. It's still there's a lot to be decided still.
It is a crazy division where like they could wind up with an insane record and be the 5th seed if they somehow slip to one of these other teams. Like just to even see where like Green Bay is in the NFC playoff standings, it feels unfitting. I've always kind of thought that should be by record, not division winner business. But that's how it works.
Yes, as I mentioned, the Dan Campbell went for it on 4th down 5 times. It worked against them only once. And Jared Goff, good stat here from Next Gen Stats on Goff, he's not going to win MVP, but he is absolutely playing at a top 10 level of quarterback in this offense. He completed 14 of 17 for 152 yards and 2 touchdowns, targeting in-breaking routes against the Packers. Goff currently leads the NFL with 1,534 passing yards, targeting in-breaking routes this season, 224 more than the next closest quarterback. So that's his happy zone. That's how he likes to attack defenses, and that's how he's being studied. He threw one bad pass, in terms of turnovers today, but in general was once again steady. And even in a game, that's the thing about this Lions offense, Mark. Like even on a game where I know Jahmyr Gibbs caught a touchdown pass, but he was bottled up for most of this game, as was Montgomery. They together in general, they ran the ball 34 times. So Ben Johnson kept discipline there and said, I want to run the pill. 34 for 111, 3.3 yards per attempt. So the Packers defense really did, in terms of how it works here, that's pretty good what they've been able to do against the Lions in this game. And it's still they hang 34 on them. And that just tells you how special Detroit's offense is.
Right. So in the end, it looks like it looks. But a note that I had in the first half was that I thought that, we talked about Green Bay's both of their lines and their physical nature this season and their new defense, that I thought they were doing a really good job in the first half. It was 17-7. The Lions went up 17-7 at one point, but I thought that they were who they were. And so that's why, like I said before, I do believe in them. I don't know. Like, I know Goff's not an MVP. Like, we get that. But part of it for me on this team is that he completed 13 straight passes at one point in this game. He had that 5 interception game, but other than that, he hasn't thrown a pick before tonight since September. And so he's kind of just what they need. And like, I think sometimes when you're not an MVP candidate, and there's a reason for that with him, but it's because he's surrounded by such a complete offensive roster. There's just a lot of pieces around him. They don't need him to go single-handedly beat Brett Favre or rescue a team out of the darkness. So he's the perfect quarterback for this team. And you kind of just hope with the Lions, no more injuries, because that's the one thing that could unspool this experience is like they just feel about 2 or 3 players away from not being who they are injury-wise, and that's the concern.
Well, and they are very different than the Cincinnati Bengals, but
right.
It's not totally different than where the Bengals are at, where it's like the offense needs to be on their A game at all times, and I expect that to have to be the case if they're actually going to make it somewhere the Detroit Lions have never been before the Super Bowl. This offense needs to stay healthy and continue to put up 30 to 40 points a game, or they're going to get picked off by one of these NFC Titans. All right, let's see. Mark.
Yes.
Should we check in on the chat?
I think that's why why we do the show this way, is to interact with these humans.
All right, let's see what we got here. Electronic Jordan came here straight from the Patreon chat. Yeah, that was fun. Mark and I both jumped on together. We shared some of our deepest, darkest secrets and regrets and our triumphs in our personal lives. And the audience, we all swore it to secrecy, and nobody will ever know.
Yeah, it's behind a paywall for informational reasons.
It's actually free. Patreon.com/heed the call.
Right.
The primetime chats are free, Mark. Please get up to date on our own enterprise. Thank you.
Well, I feel like I deserve credit for, logging on and being part of it.
That was good.
Let's start there.
What else we got? Justin's starting to get high, so this could get slow.
Starting to.
Yeah. Well, they're
I
starting.
am looking for the LaFleur sound, and it's hard to manage the chat and look for that.
Do you want me to run? How about this? I'll run chat, and you.
Okay. I have some starred comments in there if you want to go through.
Mark,
this
you
first.
just stay pretty, okay?
Yeah.
Smith.
You're doing a great job, Justin. But I will say a lot of people asking about Justin's. When does the first edible hit? And I said usually about halftime, because he wants to be as high as possible during the show.
Yeah.
So
some people are also asking, when's the intervention? It's like, well, that's a private conversation for Mark and I.
Sure.
I love Campbell going for it, that 4th down, given how down bad his D was. Don't let the Packers have another possession. Yeah, that I think that's what was thinking was, but I also think that he doesn't think. I think he literally just goes on instinct that I trust my dogs, and I'm just going to win it right here, and I like that. Let's see what else we got here. Have you seen Goff's wife? No, I don't. We're not telling that. Looking through this in real time, I'm looking for the stars that our friend Justin.
Well, you can click
here we go.
on the right. You can click that, yeah.
Has anyone else noticed when Kirk Herbstreit doesn't know how to respond to Al saying some weird shit, he chuckles nervously and says, "No doubt."
My one thing about, because I think actually Kirk Herbstreit he's solid, but has he ever made you smile, laugh, giggle, feel anything more than just basic football data download?
I don't know, man, but I do. I have to admit, I do that with you as well, Mark.
What?
No doubt.
Well, I don't say no doubt, but sometimes you'll say something that is almost, I can't wrap my head around it because it's very Mark, and I just say, absolutely.
I understand that.
But I do that out of love.
I wouldn't critique you for that.
I have LaFleur if you want it.
Oh, you do? Well, let me see. I'm going to just check out these other comments. If there's anything worth checking in. All right, go ahead. Let's play LaFleur.
Yeah, I've never been a part of something like that. He was talking junk to our players, giving them the throat slash sign. And you're trying to de-escalate it, and then he gets in my face. So I thought it was pretty unsportsmanlike. I've never seen that. I've been on many fields, and usually they police that much better. I thought it was an arrogant fan that, wanted to get in part of the action, and just, I would like to see security or something step in there and get him out of there, because he shouldn't be doing that.
Go ahead, Mark. This is your hero, so you could talk on his behalf.
The coach is my hero?
No, the thug guy. Yeah.
No, I don't like. I'm living, breathing document in terms of like the situation. Like I'm starting to not think that fan. You called him an idiot out of pocket.
Don't walk it back.
I'm starting to agree with
him.
you. Like, I do think he was probably drinking since about 9:30 a.m. Detroit time, and then, he's now coming out of his mental haze, realizing he just got into a verbal fisticuffs with the coach of the Packers.
Yeah,
good day, interesting.
I'm sure
I don't think that at all.
If you're the type of guy that would do that, you're also the type of guy that would be very proud about that. So I'm sure he is celebrating with his buddies. I would also say that as much as I do think that guy is an ass, that does take a certain amount of testicular fortitude to just like go on a field pretending you're going to hold the American flag and then do throat slash gestures to the Green Bay Packers.
A lot of mixed messages going on there. I'd agree.
That's not bad. That's not bad. Anything else, Mark?
The only thing I would say is that if you haven't tried the Patreon game chats, give it a try. Like you said, it's free. It's not that was a news update to me, but I just kind of forgot about that. But it was very engaging, and I just recognize a lot of the people's names going back years and years, and so it's got a family type feel to it. Now, not all the conversations.
Are we talking a little Betsy Clark shout out in a big spot?
We met Betsy Clark in person.
Now that is a great
gave us books, gave me a book, just great people going back a long time. So I love to see that they've come from where we were to this show. They're hanging out with us during a great football game. That's what we're trying to do here.
Excellent. And if we could
that's an example of you just saying, I'll say something, you just say excellent.
Unbelievable, Mark.
Yeah, okay.
Great job. And
we do have one more comment we got to get to.
All right,
here.
let's see.
And I'll say, I just want to preface this. I didn't triple source, so this could be bad reporting by me, but we got to at least address this.
Okay. Mason Barrett asks, were you guys aware that Connor had a side hustle of being a magician at kids' parties in college? My younger cousin had a birthday party probably in 2008 in Fairmount, New York, and he's got a picture of him with Connor as a magician at his birthday party. Maybe the inspiration of his Twitter picture. Ask him to do his levitating card trick. That was his go-to.
Well,
do we have some developing news?
Yeah. I would say this. This is someone that went to Syracuse in New York. So
Alhambra, Connor Orr, magician. I mean, that's a bombshell. Mason? Well, we don't know if it's true, and you're right. This is the type of speculation that
reckless,
that the true journos don't ever bring to light without making sure that it's accurate. But and from a TMZ angle, Justin, you've done good work here.
Thanks.
Can I ask one question? If we were to go investigate this, it's how do you, why are you an adult? You're an adult male that has a picture of a magician / clown or whatever he is at this party. And you've held on to this picture for a long time. And now we're figuring out it's Connor from roughly 16 years ago.
Wait, so just to be clear, it was a party where he was a magician for other adults?
For children. No, I think for children. So there's it raises some
kids parties while Connor was in college.
So Connor's side hustle was a magician in Western New York. Okay, or upstate New York. That is okay. We're gonna have we'll certainly. I mean, yeah.
I'm gonna look one thing up. Hold on, Fairmont, New York. Let's see where that is.
Yeah,
right.
I will do my digging on this. I will do the reporting as the HTC media insider, and get back to everybody.
I mean, there's another way we could go with this. We could ask Connor, but
that would be my first move as a reporter. Yeah.
You don't need to triple source that. But he could lie to us too. I don't think he
yes.
would. He's a truth.
Did we learn anything from the Mike Mularkey, Ian Rappaport incident?
Well, exactly.
That was a direct source as well.
Exactly. Right.
By the way, everybody in the live stream right now, thank you very much for joining us. If you could do us one favor, as soon as the stream ends, can you go leave an actual comment in the video on YouTube? This will help boost the algorithm, or so I am told, which will help the program and help Mark pay for his many, many children and families across America. So please, commenting here is amazing and fun, but if you could just drop any old comment down in the YouTube video, it will help Mark. It will save Christmas for Marc Sessler and all of his, connection points.
Multiple offspring. Let's just be real, It's expensive. One paycheck, many
Let's go, Gravedigger. It's time to say goodbye. We will be back on Friday morning. Speaking of the Patreon, patreon.com/heedthecall. Me, Mark, Justin, and Connor will be doing our live draft of Week 14. And then coming up Sunday night, it is the flagship program. And are we going to go live again, Justin?
Why not? It worked out well, I thought.
Why are you talking like that?
I'm not talking anyway.
Okay.
I just exist.
Very nice. What was that? All right, everybody. Thanks. Till next time, you know what you got to do. Heed the call.